You lie beneath the night sky, and at first it feels familiar. Darkness stretches above you like a soft blanket, scattered with calm, steady points of light. Your breathing slows. The stars seem fixed, ancient, reassuring in their silence. For a moment, it feels as though nothing has changed since humans first looked up and wondered. But as your thoughts settle, something subtle begins to shift. You imagine holding still while the sky gently moves. Not the stars themselves, but the space between them. The darkness does not sit quietly. It stretches. It grows. It behaves less like an empty backdrop and more like a living thing, quietly unfolding in all directions. You picture galaxies far beyond your sight, glowing islands of stars drifting across a vast cosmic ocean. They are not rushing. They are not fleeing. They are simply carried apart as the ocean itself expands. Like boats resting on water that slowly rises and spreads, the galaxies move without effort, guided by the deep behavior of space itself. This is the first realization that gently unsettles and soothes you at the same time. Distance is not passive. It is active. It participates. The emptiness between objects is not nothing, it is presence, structure, and motion. Even as you lie still, the universe is quietly stretching, increasing the space between everything that exists. You let that idea settle slowly, the way a thought softens before sleep. Expansion does not feel violent or loud. It feels patient, calm. It has been happening for billions of years, long before you were here to notice it. Every second, new space forms between distant galaxies, like an invisible breath the universe never finishes releasing. You imagine time rewinding gently, carrying you backward through cosmic history. The galaxies draw closer. The universe becomes warmer, denser, brighter. Long ago, everything was closer together, bound in a hot, compact beginning. From that beginning, space itself began to grow. Not objects flying outward into emptiness, but emptiness itself expanding and carrying everything along with it. This distinction matters, though it asks nothing of you except quiet attention. You are not watching an explosion throwing matter outward. You are witnessing space growing between things, stretching like a fabric that becomes looser over time. The universe does not expand into anything. It expands as itself, creating more of what it already is. As your body rests, you sense how unfamiliar that idea is. On Earth, growth usually needs room. A plant reaches into available space. A breath fills lungs that already exist. But the universe behaves differently. It creates room as it goes. Space does not wait for permission. It unfolds naturally, steadily, everywhere at once. You imagine placing gentle markers between distant galaxies, invisible points floating in darkness. Over time, those markers drift apart, not because they move on their own, but because the space holding them grows. The farther apart they are, the faster they separate. Expansion compounds quietly, like interest accumulating in a cosmic account no one can close. This realization carries a strange emotional weight. The universe feels calm, but it is not static. It is not holding still for observation. It is changing in a way that does not ask for witnesses. Even if no one were here to look, space would still stretch. Galaxies would still drift. Time would still carry everything forward. You feel small in this awareness, but not insignificant. Your body, too, exists within space. Yet the expansion does not pull you apart. Gravity, electromagnetic forces, and the bonds of matter hold you together. Expansion matters only across the largest distances, where gravity loosens its grip and space quietly takes over. That thought is comforting. The universe can grow without disturbing your rest. It can stretch between galaxies while leaving atoms, cells, and bodies untouched. You remain safely held, even as the cosmos slowly widens around you. You imagine the night sky not as a ceiling, but as depth. Layers upon layers of space extending outward, growing subtly thicker with every passing moment. The darkness between stars is not absence, it is activity happening too slowly for the senses, too gently to feel. Somewhere deep in that growing darkness lies a question, barely formed but persistent. If space is expanding, what is driving it? What quiet influence tells the universe to keep stretching, to keep making more room between everything that exists? For now, the universe does not answer. It simply continues. Expansion becomes the background rhythm of reality, steady and unquestioned for most of cosmic history. Stars are born and die. Galaxies collide and merge. Life appears briefly on small planets. And through it all, space keeps growing, unhurried and unstoppable. You let your mind rest inside that rhythm. There is no urgency here. No demand for explanation yet. Only the awareness that the universe is larger tomorrow than it was today, and larger today than it was yesterday. Growth without intention. Motion without effort. As your breathing deepens, the night sky above you feels less like a distant mystery and more like a slow-moving companion. It stretches alongside time, carrying questions forward without rushing toward answers. And somewhere within that calm expansion, the universe holds a secret, one that will not reveal itself all at once, but will first appear as a quiet surprise, discovered only when someone finally thinks to measure the motion of the stars. You drift into a quieter moment in scientific history, a time when the universe feels mostly understood. Not completely, but comfortably. Astronomers believe they know the broad shape of the cosmic story. The universe begins hot and dense, expands outward, and over time, gravity should slow that expansion. Everything pulls on everything else. Matter gathers. Motion gradually eases. It feels sensible. Familiar. Like tossing a ball upward and watching it slow, pause, and fall back. The universe, filled with matter and shaped by gravity, should behave the same way. Expansion should still be happening, yes, but more gently than before. You imagine scientists resting inside this assumption, not questioning it deeply, because it fits so well. Telescopes improve. Measurements sharpen. The universe feels predictable in its long, slow unfolding. No one is looking for surprises. And then, quietly, one arrives. You follow a group of astronomers who turn their attention to distant stellar explosions, supernovae. These are not gentle events. They are stars ending their lives in brilliant flashes, briefly shining as brightly as entire galaxies. For a short time, they become cosmic beacons, visible across immense distances. What makes these explosions special is not their violence, but their reliability. Certain types of supernovae glow with nearly the same intrinsic brightness every time. They are like identical candles scattered across the universe. If you know how bright the candle truly is, You can tell how far away it must be by how dim it appears. This simple idea becomes a measuring tool, a way to map distance across the vastness of space, a way to trace how fast the universe has been expanding at different times in its history. You imagine scientists carefully gathering this light. Photons that have traveled for billions of years finally land on mirrors and sensors. Ancient messages arrive softly, carrying information about motion, distance, and time. At first, everything seems routine. The data fits expectations until it doesn't. Subtle discrepancies appear. The distant supernovae look dimmer than expected. Too dim. As if they are farther away than gravity alone would allow. You feel the moment of hesitation. A pause. A recalibration. Instruments are checked. Calculations are repeated. No one wants to rush toward a conclusion that feels unreasonable. But the pattern remains. The farther back in time the scientists look, the slower the expansion appears. Closer to the present, the expansion seems faster. Not just continuing, but accelerating. This is the moment when the universe gently breaks a promise no one realized it had made. Expansion is not slowing down. It is speeding up. You let that thought settle slowly. Acceleration feels unnatural on this scale. There is no visible engine. No explosion pushing outward. No force that fits neatly into existing equations. And yet, the measurements whisper the same message again and again. The universe is expanding faster now than it did in the past. You imagine the unease that follows. Acceleration requires explanation. It demands something new, something unseen. Gravity, which pulls inward, cannot be responsible. Something else must be at work, acting quietly across the largest distances imaginable. The discovery does not arrive with celebration. It arrives with discomfort. With careful language and cautious papers. With scientists triple-checking results before daring to trust them. Eventually, separate teams, working independently, arrive at the same conclusion. Different methods. Same outcome. The universe is not behaving as predicted. You sense the shift this creates. Not just in equations, but in perspective. The cosmos, once thought to be gradually settling down, now appears restless in a new way. Calm, yes, but accelerating beneath the calm. This acceleration is subtle. No galaxy feels a sudden push. No star changes its path abruptly. But across billions of light years, the effect accumulates. Space itself seems to encourage separation, gently amplifying the distance between everything not tightly bound together. You rest inside the strange beauty of this realization. The universe is not winding down. It is opening up. Making more room, faster than before. And yet, no one knows why. The discovery answers one question only to raise many others. What is causing this acceleration? Where does it come from? Has it always been there, hidden beneath stronger forces, waiting for matter to thin out? Or is it something new, emerging as the universe ages? You imagine scientists staring at plots and graphs late into the night, aware that they are touching the edge of understanding. The data does not shout. It murmurs. It insists quietly, patiently, without drama. Light from distant stars carries this message across time, indifferent to whether it will be understood. Photons travel their long paths regardless of human readiness. They arrive bearing truth without interpretation. You feel the humility in this. The universe does not explain itself. It only reveals patterns. Meaning must be carefully assembled, slowly, from faint signals and persistent questions. As your body relaxes further, the discovery feels less like a shock and more like an invitation. A reminder that even the most confident assumptions are temporary. That nature does not promise comfort, only consistency. Acceleration becomes a fact before it becomes a theory. A behavior before it becomes a cause. Scientists can measure what is happening long before they understand why it happens. This gap between observation and explanation grows quietly. It does not demand immediate resolution. It simply waits, expanding alongside space itself. You sense that a new name will soon be needed. A placeholder for the unknown influence responsible for this cosmic behavior. Not an answer, but a way to speak about the mystery without pretending it is solved. For now, the universe continues to accelerate, unbothered by confusion. Galaxies drift apart more quickly with time. Space stretches more eagerly than expected. And as sleep approaches, you rest inside this unfinished understanding, knowing that the next step is not explanation yet, but naming, giving the unknown a gentle label so the mind can hold it without fear, and continue wondering. You rest with the unanswered question, letting it float without pressure. The universe is expanding faster than expected, and no familiar force explains why. The mind, even a scientific one, does not like open gaps. It reaches instinctively for a word, not to solve the mystery, but to hold it gently in place. And so, a name appears. Dark energy. You let the phrase settle slowly, noticing how quiet it feels. It does not describe what the thing is. It only admits what it is not. Not visible. Not directly measurable. Not yet understood. The word dark does not mean evil or heavy. It means hidden, like a room with the lights turned off, still full of furniture, still real. Naming the unknown is an old human habit. When you give something a name, it becomes less frightening, even if it remains unexplained. Dark energy is not an answer. It is a placeholder. A soft label attached to a behavior the universe is clearly displaying. You imagine scientists choosing this name carefully, aware of its limitations. They are not claiming discovery of a substance or a particle. They are acknowledging a pattern. Space is behaving as though it contains something that pushes outward. Something gentle. Something persistent. As your breathing slows, you picture space not as an empty container, but as an active participant. Every stretch of darkness between galaxies carries a subtle influence. Not a shove. Not a pulse. Just a quiet tendency to expand. Dark energy, in this sense, is not a thing floating inside space. It may be space itself. This idea drifts into your thoughts like mist. What if emptiness has properties? What if space is not a void, but a fabric with tension, texture, and energy woven into it? When space grows, perhaps it does so because of something intrinsic to its nature, not because of an external cause. You imagine a calm lake at night. The water looks still, but beneath the surface, there is depth, pressure, movement. Space may be similar. It looks empty, but it carries potential, structure, and influence. Scientists begin to describe dark energy as a property of space rather than a force acting through it. The more space there is, the more dark energy there seems to be. As the universe expands, it creates more space, and with it, more of this subtle outward pressure. Expansion feeds itself, slowly, steadily. This idea feels circular, but not unstable. Like a breath that deepens naturally once it begins. Space expands because it has a tendency to expand. The explanation is simple in form, even if profound in implication. You sense how different this is from gravity. Gravity pulls objects together. Dark energy does not pull at all. It does not clump or gather. It spreads evenly, smoothly, without preference. It does not care where matter is. It fills the gaps, the distances, the vast regions where galaxies are absent. In this way, dark energy becomes noticeable only when space becomes dominant. Early in the universe, matter was dense. Gravity ruled. Expansion slowed under its influence. But as the universe grew larger and matter spread thinner, space itself took center stage. Its quiet pressure, once negligible, became significant. You imagine a balance shifting almost imperceptibly over billions of years. No dramatic moment. No sudden takeover. Just a gradual change in which influence matters most. The name dark energy allows scientists to talk about this shift without pretending to understand its origin. It is an admission of humility wrapped in language. A way of saying, something is happening here, and we are paying attention. You find comfort in that honesty. Science does not demand certainty before curiosity. It allows mystery to exist, clearly labeled, carefully studied, and patiently questioned. As you drift deeper into rest, you explore another idea connected to dark energy. What if the vacuum of space, the emptiness itself, contains energy even when nothing else is present? In quantum physics, even empty space is never truly empty. Tiny fluctuations appear and vanish. Fields hum quietly beneath perception. Perhaps dark energy is connected to this restless background. A baseline energy of space that does not disappear when matter is removed. A gentle hum that becomes more influential as everything else spreads out. You do not need to follow the equations. The feeling is enough. Emptiness is not silent. It carries a whisper of presence. Scientists calculate that dark energy makes up most of the universe's total energy content. Not stars. Not galaxies. Not gas or dust. The vast majority is this unseen influence associated with space itself. This realization feels both humbling and oddly soothing. Everything you can see, the stars, the planets, even your own body, is a small fraction of what exists. The universe is shaped mostly by something quiet and invisible, something that does not announce itself loudly. You imagine lying inside a structure supported not by beams you can see, but by tension spread evenly throughout. Dark energy becomes the background support of cosmic architecture, subtle yet dominant. Still, the name does not explain origin. It does not answer why space has this property or whether it could change. It simply allows conversation to continue. You sense that naming is only the beginning. Once a phenomenon has a name, it can be tested, constrained, questioned. It can be compared with observations. Its behavior can be measured, even if its nature remains elusive. Dark energy becomes a word spoken gently, without certainty, without fear. It is a reminder that not knowing is part of understanding. As your thoughts soften, you return to the image of space itself breathing outward. Each region of darkness carrying the same quiet pressure. Each expansion creating more room, and with it, more of whatever this dark energy is. The mystery does not press for resolution tonight. It simply rests beside you, named but unexplained, patient as the universe continues to stretch, inviting you to look closer, to ask how space itself learned to move. You let the idea of dark energy rest quietly in your mind, not as a solution, but as a doorway. Beyond that doorway is a deeper realization, one that asks you to look not at stars or galaxies, but at the space that holds them. You have spent so long thinking of space as a place where things happen. Now, you begin to sense that space itself is what is happening. You imagine the universe without objects for a moment. No stars. No planets. No glowing islands of matter. Just space. It feels strange at first, like imagining silence without sound. But slowly, the idea becomes clearer. Even without anything inside it, space would still exist. And more than that, it would still behave. This is where the old picture begins to soften. Space is not a rigid box. It does not sit still while the universe unfolds inside it. Space stretches. It swells. It grows larger with time, carrying everything along gently, without friction or resistance. You picture a calm, elastic fabric, pulled evenly in every direction. No single point is special. No center needs to be chosen. Every region experiences the same quiet expansion. From anywhere you stand, everything else appears to drift away. This behavior feels counterintuitive, yet deeply consistent. The universe does not expand outward from a single location. It expands everywhere at once. Each stretch of space lengthens in harmony with every other stretch, like a breath-filling lungs that have no edges. You notice how peaceful this motion is. There is no tearing sound. No sudden movement. Expansion happens too slowly for urgency, too evenly for chaos. It unfolds on timescales that dwarf worry. The more space there is, the more space can stretch. This is one of the universe's quiet rules. Expansion feeds on itself, not explosively, but persistently. A small amount of space creates more space, which then creates more still. You let this rhythm match your breathing. In. Out. Space does something similar, though it never exhales. It only deepens its inhale, gently, endlessly. Scientists describe this behavior using mathematics, but the feeling of it can be sensed without numbers. Space refuses to remain static. It is dynamic by nature, capable of change even when nothing else appears to be happening. You imagine placing invisible rulers between distant galaxies. Over time, those rulers grow longer, even though the galaxies themselves do not move through space. The space between them changes instead. Distance itself becomes flexible. This flexibility does not disturb smaller structures. Atoms remain bound. Planets keep their orbits. Galaxies hold together under gravity's care. Expansion matters only where space outweighs everything else, where emptiness dominates. You find comfort in that boundary. The universe knows where to be gentle. It stretches the vastness without unraveling the delicate. As your thoughts drift, you consider how strange it is that space can have properties at all. It can curve. It can expand. It can carry energy. These are not the qualities of nothing. They are the qualities of something subtle and fundamental. Space responds to what fills it. Matter and energy shape its geometry, telling it how to bend and move. In return, space tells matter how to travel, how to orbit, how to fall. This quiet conversation between space and content shapes the entire universe. Expansion is one expression of that conversation. It is space responding to its own internal conditions, to whatever dark energy may be woven into its fabric. You imagine the universe long ago, when everything was closer together. Space was tighter then, less dominant. Matter ruled the motion of the cosmos. But as space grew, it gained influence. Its tendency to stretch became more noticeable, more powerful in shaping large-scale behavior. There was no moment when space suddenly woke up. No dramatic shift. Just a gradual change in balance, unfolding over billions of years. You feel the patience of that process. The universe does not hurry. It allows change to emerge slowly, giving structures time to form, life time to appear, questions time to be asked. Space's refusal to stay still is not disruptive. It is simply persistent. It does not care about observation. It expands whether it is measured or not. This idea carries a strange peace. The universe does not require attention to function. It does not seek understanding. It unfolds according to its nature, quietly and reliably. As your body grows heavier with rest, you sense that you are part of this unfolding, not separate from it. You exist within space, shaped by its geometry, carried gently through time by its motion. The room around you feels still, yet beyond its walls, space stretches between galaxies. Both truths coexist without conflict. You return again to the thought that even nothingness has a pulse. Space is not inert. It has a life of its own, expressed not through sound or movement you can feel, but through expansion that defines the universe's future. This realization does not demand fear. It invites curiosity. If space can stretch, can it change in other ways? Could its behavior shift again? Could the balance between gravity and expansion evolve further? You do not chase the answers. You let the questions float gently, like stars reflected on dark water. As sleep draws nearer, you feel the universe breathing around you, not loudly, not urgently, but steadily. Space refuses to stay still, and in doing so, it sets the stage for a quiet struggle, one between stretching and holding, between expansion and gravity that continues to shape everything you see and everything you are about to wonder next. You rest inside a universe shaped by two gentle instincts that move in opposite directions. One gathers. The other releases. Neither is loud. Neither rushes. Together, they create the slow rhythm of cosmic change. You begin with gravity, because gravity feels familiar. You feel it now, holding your body against the earth, keeping you grounded, supported, at rest. Gravity is the reason things come together instead of drifting apart. It is the quiet agreement matter makes with itself, to stay connected. Across the universe, gravity performs the same work on a grander scale. It draws gas into clouds. It compresses clouds into stars. It binds stars into galaxies and galaxies into clusters. Wherever matter exists, gravity patiently gathers it, shaping structure from spread-out beginnings. You imagine the early universe, when everything is closer together. Matter fills space densely, and gravity's influence is strong. Expansion exists, but it slows as gravity pulls inward. For a long time, gravity appears to be winning. Structures form. Complexity emerges. The universe feels busy, creative, full of motion and connection. Gravity is not forceful in the way explosions are forceful. It does not shove. It invites. It curves space gently, asking matter to follow the paths it creates. Matter answers willingly, settling into orbits and systems, finding balance within the pull. This is the universe you recognize. The one filled with galaxies, stars, planets, and eventually life. Gravity makes these things possible. Without it, everything would drift endlessly, never meeting, never forming patterns. You sense the comfort in this. Gravity is the reason the universe feels coherent rather than scattered. It is the reason your body remains whole, your thoughts remain anchored, your sleep undisturbed by cosmic expansion. But as you rest, you also feel the presence of something else. A countering influence, subtle but persistent. Dark energy does not oppose gravity directly. It does not pull against it in the same way. Instead, it changes the stage on which gravity acts. It stretches space itself, slowly increasing the distance gravity must bridge. You imagine two hands at work. One gently gathering threads together. The other slowly lengthening the fabric those threads are woven into. Neither hand stops. Neither becomes impatient. They work simultaneously, shaping the outcome together. In regions where matter is dense, inside galaxies, within clusters, gravity remains dominant. Its pull is strong enough to hold things together despite the stretching of space. Stars continue to orbit. Galaxies remain bound. The expansion of the universe does not tear these structures apart. But in the vast spaces between clusters, where matter thins out and gravity weakens, dark energy's influence becomes more noticeable. There, space stretches freely, increasing the separation between distant structures. The universe grows larger not by rearranging matter, but by widening the gaps between it. This is the quiet struggle at the heart of the cosmos. Not a battle, but a balance. Holding and letting go. Connection and separation. You feel echoes of this balance within yourself. Muscles relax while bones hold. Breath flows in while the body remains intact. Rest does not mean falling apart. It means finding equilibrium between effort and release. The universe, too, is finding its balance, though its scales are vast beyond imagining. For billions of years, gravity shapes complexity while dark energy slowly changes the background conditions. Neither erases the other. They coexist, influencing different scales, different regions, different outcomes. As time passes, the balance shifts. Space grows larger. Matter spreads thinner. Gravity's reach, while still present, becomes less influential across the largest distances. Dark energy, evenly spread and constant, begins to shape the universe's overall behavior more strongly. This transition does not announce itself. There is no moment when gravity fails. It continues to do its work faithfully, binding what is close, shaping what is dense. But its ability to slow expansion across the entire universe gradually fades. You imagine galaxies continuing their quiet dances, unaware that beyond their local bonds, the universe is changing character. Expansion accelerates not because gravity stops working, but because space itself becomes the dominant influence on the largest scales. This idea feels gentle rather than alarming. The universe is not breaking. It is evolving. It is exploring a new balance point between its fundamental tendencies. You let this understanding settle slowly, like a weight placed carefully rather than dropped. Gravity does not lose its importance. It simply shares the stage with something that operates differently, more diffusely, more patiently. As your breathing deepens, you imagine gravity as memory. Matter remembering how to stay together, how to form relationships, how to build complexity. Dark energy becomes forgetting, not erasure, but release. Space allowing things to drift without conflict. Both are necessary. Without gravity, there would be no stars to light the universe, no planets to host life, no bodies to rest. Without expansion, the universe would collapse back into itself, too crowded for structure to endure. You feel gratitude for this balance. The universe is not extreme. It does not choose only holding or only letting go. It allows both, creating a cosmos that is dynamic yet stable enough for long stories to unfold. As sleep draws closer, the struggle between gravity and dark energy feels less like tension and more like harmony. Two influences moving at different scales, each essential, each gentle in its own way. You rest inside this harmony, knowing that while gravity holds you safely together tonight, something larger and quieter continues to stretch the universe beyond your awareness, inviting you next to wonder how humans can possibly measure such invisible forces at all. You rest inside a universe shaped by forces you cannot see, and you begin to wonder how anyone could ever measure something so quiet. Dark energy does not glow. It does not cast shadows. It does not announce itself with motion or sound. And yet, scientists have learned to sense it indirectly, by watching how the universe changes over time. You imagine observation not as staring, but as listening. Listening to light that has traveled for billions of years. Listening to patterns that emerge slowly, patiently, from careful attention. The first tools are simple in spirit, even if complex in execution. Light becomes the messenger. Every photon carries a history, a record of where it has been and how far it has traveled. By reading that history, scientists learn how space itself has behaved along the way. You return to the distant supernovae, those brief, brilliant endings of stars. They flash and fade, but their light persists, crossing the universe long after the explosion itself has settled into silence. Because some of these supernovae shine with nearly the same true brightness, they become markers, cosmic mileposts scattered across space and time. You imagine lining them up, one after another, each one a candle at a different distance. The dimmer the candle appears, the farther away it must be. But distance alone is not the full story. The light is also stretched as it travels. Space expands beneath it, lengthening its wavelength, reddening its color. This stretching becomes a second clue. It reveals not just how far the light has traveled, but how much space has grown during its journey. Distance and expansion intertwine, telling a shared story. You picture scientists plotting these observations gently, letting patterns emerge without forcing conclusions. Points appear on graphs. Curves take shape. The universe's expansion history reveals itself slowly, like an image developing in darkroom light. Supernovae are not the only messengers. You drift further back in time, toward a faint glow that fills all of space. The cosmic microwave background. It is the afterglow of the universe's early warmth, a soft echo from a time when everything was closer together and far hotter than now. This radiation hums quietly everywhere, bathing the universe in an almost uniform whisper of ancient light. Tiny variations ripple through it, slight differences in temperature and density that carry information about the universe's earliest structure. You imagine this background as a memory preserved perfectly, stretched thin by expansion but never erased. It tells scientists how fast the universe was expanding long ago, providing a reference point against which later behavior can be compared. Together, supernovae and background radiation form a timeline. A way to see how expansion changes with time. Not through direct measurement of dark energy itself, but through its effects on the universe's growth. You feel the patience required for this work. No single observation reveals the truth. It emerges only through accumulation, through consistency across different methods and eras. Each measurement is a soft tap against the unknown, checking its shape without breaking it. You imagine rulers that cannot be touched, clocks that cannot be held, distances too vast to picture. Scientists work with abstractions, translating light into numbers, numbers into models, models into understanding. Yet even here, uncertainty remains. Measurements carry error bars. Assumptions are tested and retested. Different approaches are compared, not to eliminate doubt, but to refine it. Uncertainty becomes a feature, not a flaw, a way of honestly mapping what is known and what is not. You find comfort in this approach. Knowledge does not arrive fully formed. It grows through careful approximation, through humility woven into method. As your body relaxes, you imagine telescopes scanning the sky night after night, gathering photons one by one. Each detection is small. Together, they reveal something immense. Dark energy does not leave fingerprints, but it leaves footprints. It changes the spacing of galaxies. It alters the timing of expansion. It shapes the large-scale geometry of the universe in ways that can be inferred, even if never directly seen. You feel the quiet triumph in this. Humans, small and temporary, have learned to read the behavior of the universe itself. Not through dominance, but through attention. Still, measurement does not bring finality. Each new observation sharpens questions as much as it answers them. Is dark energy constant? Does it change over time? Is it truly a property of space, or something deeper, waiting to be uncovered? The data remains patient. It does not rush conclusions. It allows multiple possibilities to coexist, bounded but unresolved. You rest with the understanding that measuring the invisible is not about control. It is about relationship. About learning how to listen to a universe that speaks only through subtle shifts in ancient light. As sleep draws closer, you sense that these measurements do more than describe the present. They hint at futures still unfolding, futures written into the rate of expansion itself, inviting you next to imagine where this quiet stretching might ultimately lead. You let your thoughts drift forward in time, far beyond the present moment, far beyond anything you could ever witness directly. The universe invites you to imagine its future not as an ending, but as a gradual change in atmosphere. Nothing dramatic arrives all at once. Instead, everything slowly spreads out, like a long breath that never quite finishes. You picture galaxies continuing their steady retreat from one another. They do not hurry. They do not resist. Space between them grows, and with it, a quiet sense of distance. Over immense spans of time, galaxies that once filled the sky become harder to see, their light stretched thinner, dimmer, redder. From within a single galaxy, the universe still feels rich. Stars are born. Planets orbit. Gravity continues its careful work. But beyond the local neighborhood, the wider cosmos begins to thin. The night sky grows emptier as distant galaxies slip beyond visibility, carried away by expansion faster than their light can reach you. You imagine standing on a planet in this distant future, looking up. The sky still holds stars, but fewer stories. The universe feels smaller, not because it has shrunk, but because so much has moved out of reach. Expansion writes this fate gently. As space grows, energy spreads out. Heat dissipates. Motion slows. The universe cools, not suddenly, but steadily, like embers fading after a long burning fire. Stars do not last forever. They exhaust their fuel and dim, one by one. New stars form for a time, using leftover gas and dust, but eventually those resources thin as well. Star formation slows, then nearly stops. The universe grows quieter, darker, calmer. You feel no fear in this vision. There is sadness, yes, but also peace. Nothing is being destroyed. Everything is simply changing state, moving towards stillness. As expansion continues, space dominates more completely. Galaxies become isolated islands, each one surrounded by an ever-growing ocean of darkness. Communication between them becomes impossible. Light itself cannot cross the widening gaps. This future is not sudden. It unfolds over trillions of years. Time stretches alongside space, allowing every process to complete itself fully. Nothing is rushed. You imagine the universe as a vast room growing larger and quieter, its sounds fading not because they are silenced, but because they have so much space to spread into. The laws of physics continue to operate, but with fewer opportunities. Interactions become rare. Encounters become unlikely. The universe does not end in fire or collapse, but in separation and calm. This scenario is sometimes called a slow cooling, a gentle fading. The universe approaches a state where little changes, where energy differences smooth out, where motion becomes minimal. You rest with this idea, noticing how it mirrors sleep itself. Activity slows. Thoughts stretch farther apart. Awareness softens without disappearing. Expansion, in this vision, is not cruel. It is indifferent, steady, consistent. It does not seek to erase complexity, but it does not preserve it forever either. It allows structures their time, then gives them rest. You imagine dark energy continuing its quiet work, unchanged, constant, woven into space itself. As long as it remains the same, expansion continues at its accelerating pace, shaping the universe's long-term destiny. Nothing dramatic announces this fate. There is no final moment when the universe becomes something else entirely. Instead, it asymptotically approaches stillness, forever nearing but never quite reaching complete quiet. You feel the scale of this time stretch your imagination. Billions of years feel small compared to what lies ahead. The universe is patient beyond comprehension. From this distant future, the present moment feels precious. A time when galaxies are still visible, when stars are still forming, when complexity still blooms. You sense that you are living during a luminous era, one brief window in which the universe is both large and connected enough to be explored and understood. As your breathing slows, you hold this awareness gently. The universe is not rushing toward loss. It is unfolding according to its nature, allowing beauty to exist fully before letting it rest. Expansion does not rush. It simply continues. You let yourself drift inside this long view of time, feeling both small and deeply included. You are part of a universe that remembers how to shine, and also how to fade without fear. And as sleep approaches, you sense that this is not the only possible future written into expansion, only one path among several, waiting quietly for you to explore what other endings space might still allow. You remain in the far future, but now the picture shifts slightly. Expansion still continues, space still stretches, but the rhythm changes. It deepens. The quiet outward push that once only separated galaxies begins to grow stronger, more influential, more intimate. Not suddenly. Not harshly. Just enough to change the ending. This possibility is known as the Big Rip, though the name sounds far more violent than the idea itself. There is no explosion here. No tearing sound. No moment of chaos. Instead, there is a slow forgetting, matter gradually losing its memory of how to stay together. You imagine dark energy not remaining constant, but strengthening over time. Its pressure increases as the universe ages, subtly altering the balance between holding and letting go. Gravity still works. Forces still bind. But the background on which they act grows more restless, more insistent. At first, nothing nearby changes. Galaxies remain intact. Stars continue their long lives. Planets keep their orbits. The universe looks much like it always has, just larger, quieter, more spacious. But far away, the gaps between galaxy clusters widen faster than before. Structures that were once loosely bound begin to drift apart. The universe's expansion starts to intrude into regions where gravity once held gently but not firmly. You feel how gradual this is. Millions of years pass without noticeable difference. Then billions. Then more. The universe gives everything time. Eventually, galaxy clusters loosen. Not ripped apart, but unbound. Galaxies that once shared a common gravitational dance drift away from one another, carried apart by the growing stretch of space. From within a single galaxy, nothing feels wrong. Stars still orbit the galactic center. The sky still holds familiar patterns. But the wider cosmic web begins to dissolve, thread by thread, without resistance. As expansion strengthens further, the influence moves inward. The boundaries where gravity once dominated shift closer to home. Even galaxies themselves begin to feel the change. Stars slowly lose their grip on one another. Orbits stretch. Distances grow. You imagine this happening not as an event, but as a long season. A time when structures gradually soften, like ice melting without cracking. Then comes a stage almost impossible to picture. Expansion begins to challenge the forces that hold solar systems together. Planets drift from their stars, not flung outward, but gently released, as if the idea of orbits slowly fades. There is no alarm. No sudden loss. Just separation increasing beyond what gravity can quietly maintain. Still deeper, the influence continues. Molecules loosen. Atoms, once bound by electromagnetic forces, begin to separate as space itself insists on growing between even the smallest distances. This is the heart of the Big Rip. Not destruction, but unraveling. The universe does not break things apart. It simply stretches the concept of togetherness until it no longer applies. You notice how strangely calm this feels. There is no violence here. Everything happens slowly enough that no moment feels catastrophic. The universe does not panic. It releases. Even time feels altered in this vision. As expansion accelerates without limit, the intervals between changes shrink. Events that once took billions of years begin to unfold more quickly, not because things rush, but because the background of space changes more rapidly. Eventually, even the smallest structures cannot remain bound. Space grows so insistently that the idea of distance itself loses meaning. Matter dissolves into separated components, and those components drift into an ever-expanding fabric. And then, there is no structure left to unravel. Only expansion continuing, without objects to carry. You sit with this ending quietly. It sounds dramatic when named, but when imagined slowly, it feels almost tender. Nothing is shattered. Nothing is lost in pain. The universe simply lets go of form. This future depends on a single question still unanswered. Does dark energy grow stronger with time, or does it remain steady? The Big Rip is not a prediction, only a possibility, allowed by current understanding but not required by it. You feel comfort in that uncertainty. The universe has not committed itself to this ending. It remains open, responsive to its own deep rules. The Big Rip teaches something subtle. It shows that the fate of everything depends not just on forces, but on how space itself behaves as time unfolds. A small change in that behavior can lead to a profoundly different future. As your breathing slows, you imagine the universe not as fragile, but as adaptable. It explores possibilities calmly, without judgment. Each ending is simply another way for space and time to express their nature. You let the idea rest without fear. The Big Rip is not a threat. It is a story space might tell if its quiet pressure continues to grow. And as sleep deepens, you sense that this is not the only gentle ending available. There are other futures too, softer, steadier, more patient, waiting to be considered, where expansion continues without unraveling, and the universe learns how to remain vast without letting go of everything at once. You let the more dramatic visions drift away, like ripples fading on dark water, and you turn instead toward quieter possibilities. The universe does not have to unravel. It does not have to forget how to hold itself together. There are futures written in expansion that are softer, steadier, and far more patient. You imagine dark energy remaining exactly as it is now, constant, calm, unchanging. It neither strengthens nor weakens. It simply exists as a background property of space, gently encouraging expansion without overwhelming the forces that bind matter together. In this future, gravity never loses its local power. Galaxies remain intact. Stars continue their slow orbits. Planetary systems stay whole, protected from the stretching of space by their internal bonds. Expansion matters only across the widest distances, where emptiness dominates and nothing needs to be held together. You picture the universe growing larger while remaining structurally familiar. The cosmic web thins, but it does not dissolve. Clusters drift farther apart, but each cluster remains a home for galaxies, stars, and worlds. This future feels like a long evening rather than a sudden night. The light fades gradually, allowing everything time to adjust. As space continues to expand, energy spreads out. Temperatures fall. Processes slow. But nothing breaks. The universe simply becomes quieter. Less crowded. More spacious. Stars still form for a long time, though more slowly than before. Gas clouds collapse under gravity's care, igniting new suns that shine for billions of years. Life, where it arises, still has time to explore itself. Complexity still blooms, though with increasing rarity. You imagine civilizations gazing at the sky in this far future. The universe looks emptier than it once did, but not barren. The stars that remain feel more precious, more intimate. Each point of light carries deeper significance against the growing darkness. Eventually, star formation slows further. The raw material thins. The universe begins to rely on long-lived stars, small, steady embers that glow gently for trillions of years. These stars do not rush. They conserve their energy, shining patiently in a universe that has learned how to wait. Time itself begins to feel different here. Without frequent events, without constant change, moments stretch. Eras blur. The universe enters a state where very little happens quickly. You feel how soothing this is. Nothing is demanded. Nothing is forced. The universe is allowed to rest while still remaining alive. As expansion continues, galaxies beyond your local group disappear from view, not because they are destroyed, but because space carries them beyond reach. The observable universe shrinks even as the total universe grows larger. This does not feel like loss so much as privacy. Each galaxy becomes its own quiet island, surrounded by darkness that does not threaten, only separates. Inside these islands, gravity remains loyal. Stars orbit. Black holes persist. Matter remembers how to stay connected. The universe does not tear itself apart. It simply spaces itself out. This future is often called a slow fading, or a heat death, not because something dies suddenly, but because energy differences gradually smooth away. Hot and cold become similar. Motion becomes minimal. The universe approaches equilibrium, not through collapse, but through calm. You notice how gentle this word feels now. Equilibrium. Balance. Rest. The universe does not end. It becomes still. A place where change is possible but rare, where events unfold over unimaginable spans of time. You imagine drifting through such a universe, where nothing presses urgently for attention, where existence itself feels meditative. Dark energy, constant and unchanging, ensures that space continues to grow without destabilizing what already exists. It sets a rhythm that never accelerates toward violence, never collapses inward. Just steady expansion, forever making more room. This future depends on something beautifully simple, that dark energy does not change. That the universe's deepest properties remain patient. You find comfort in how modest this requirement is. The universe does not need perfection. It only needs consistency. As your breathing slows, you sense that this kind of ending mirrors the way sleep arrives. Thoughts do not shatter. They stretch out. They grow farther apart. Awareness softens without vanishing. The universe, too, may simply drift into a state where stories become rare, but never impossible. Where nothing dramatic remains to happen, yet existence continues quietly. You realize that this future is not empty of meaning. It is full of completion. Everything that could happen has had time to happen. Every structure has lived its full lifespan. Nothing is cut short. In this way, expansion becomes a kindness. It gives the universe room to finish its thoughts, to let each process reach its natural end. You hold this image gently. A universe vast and calm, stars glowing slowly, time stretching so wide that urgency no longer exists. And as sleep deepens, you sense that even these futures, gentle or dramatic, are still only possibilities. The universe has not revealed its final choice. It continues to expand, quietly and faithfully, leaving you resting inside the mystery itself, where not knowing becomes the softest ending of all, and the most honest place to rest. You let your mind return to now, to the present moment, while still carrying traces of all the futures you have imagined. The universe is vast, yes, but it is also alive in its quiet, patient way. You realize that even as you rest, it continues to expand, to breathe, to grow in ways you cannot yet measure or fully understand. Dark energy remains as mysterious as ever. It has a name, yes, but the name is not a key, it is only a handle, a way to talk about its presence, a gentle acknowledgement of something unseen. what it truly is, why it behaves as it does, whether it can change in the far reaches of time, these questions remain open. They are echoes, stretching across billions of light years and billions of years of history. You feel the comfort of this uncertainty. The universe does not demand that you understand it completely. It allows you to rest, to witness without needing to solve, to wonder without needing to conclude. All around you, space is still expanding, stretching the distances between galaxies, stars, and the dust of creation. This expansion is gentle in the near term, imperceptible in your own life, yet unstoppable in the cosmic perspective. It is the pulse of the universe itself, quiet and constant, a rhythm that outlasts any single human thought, yet is accessible to your imagination tonight. You think again of gravity, quietly holding clusters of stars together, of dark energy, gently encouraging them apart. You remember the big rip, the soft unraveling, and the gentle fading of more stable futures. All of these scenarios coexist in the mind as possibilities, each a testament to the subtlety and patience of the cosmos. Even the light from distant stars feels like a story, reaching you after billions of years, whispering truths about expansion, about change, about what the universe values in its long unfolding. The photons carry information, history, and beauty, arriving without demand, without urgency. You imagine tracing each one back along its path, feeling the journey it has taken. Space itself continues to behave in ways that are impossible to witness fully but easy to sense through imagination. It stretches, expands, and carries everything along. You sense that emptiness is not mere absence, it is active, full of subtle pressure and quiet influence. Each cubic meter of space contains the memory of expansion, a property woven into the fabric of reality, shaping the motion of galaxies and the passage of time. You notice how small you are within this vastness, yet how intimately connected. Your body rests within gravity's gentle embrace, your mind aware of light that has traveled across the cosmos. You are part of a universe that is still learning, still expanding, still becoming. Questions rise naturally in this calm. Will dark energy continue forever? Could its strength change? Will the universe ever reach an end, or does it simply stretch into ever greater quiet? You do not chase these questions aggressively. You let them hover, like dust motes suspended in a soft beam of light, easy to observe and yet untouchable. There is no rush to answer. There is only the beauty of wondering, the elegance of letting the unknown remain mysterious. You feel gratitude for the scientists who have traced these patterns. Their telescopes, their equations, their patient observation allow you to follow this gentle narrative. They have shown how uncertainty can be embraced, how the invisible can be measured, how the mind can hold the unknowable without panic. In this quiet reflection, you sense that curiosity is itself a kind of intimacy with the universe. To wonder, to imagine, to trace the faint signals of cosmic history is to rest inside the universe's mind without expectation of full comprehension. You picture future observers, drifting in distant galaxies, looking back at light from your own era. Perhaps they, too, will rest inside a cosmos they cannot fully understand, tracing patterns across space and time, marveling at what came before them. The act of observation becomes a thread linking all consciousness that has ever existed. And yet, for tonight, you do not need to worry about these threads. You do not need to calculate, predict, or solve. You only need to allow the universe to enfold you, to rest within its rhythm, to float gently in awareness of both what is known and what remains unknowable. Dark energy continues its quiet work, whatever it may truly be. Expansion continues, unfolding without rush, without urgency, without need for attention. Galaxies drift apart gently. Time stretches on, indifferent but patient. You feel your own body mirrored in this cosmic rhythm. Breath in, breath out. Thought in, thought out. Each heartbeat a reminder of the small yet conscious presence within this immense universe. You are resting, observing, imagining. You are a participant in this gentle unfolding. Even the act of imagining the universe is itself an act of presence. You are tracing patterns that span billions of years. You are contemplating forces that dwarf human scale. And yet, your mind remains calm, your body relaxed, your awareness soft and open. The universe is still unfinished. Expansion is ongoing. Dark energy is unmeasured beyond its effects. Questions stretch forward, just like space itself, inviting curiosity rather than demanding answers. You do not need to solve these questions tonight. You only need to notice them. Allow them to float. Allow them to exist alongside you. There is a peacefulness in this coexistence of the known and the unknown. You sense the universe not as a puzzle to be conquered, but as a presence to be shared with, a rhythm to rest within, a quiet companion in your journey towards sleep. Time feels expansive, yet gentle. You drift alongside cosmic history, alongside possible futures. You carry the knowledge that the universe is patient, that its processes are vast, that its mysteries are not urgent. And in this moment, you feel suspended inside both curiosity and calm. You hold the knowledge of the past, the possibilities of the future, and the mystery of what is yet to come. There is no need for fear, for urgency, for resolution. Only observation. Only presence. Only the quiet acknowledgement that the universe is still gently becoming, and you are resting within its unfolding story. As your eyelids grow heavy, as your breath deepens, you let yourself surrender to this rhythm. The expansion of space, the pull of gravity, the subtle influence of dark energy all continue beyond your awareness, steady and patient. You do not need to follow every calculation, you do not need to know every force. You are here. You are breathing. You are observing. You are resting. And as sleep arrives, you drift inside a universe that is unfinished, unknown, and magnificent, a universe that stretches, expands, and whispers its mysteries softly into your mind, inviting you to rest, to wonder, and to dream alongside it.